thought he'll explain that I didn't run away, yeah? When he came close, and I told him, tell him he hit me too. I couldn't win. So this German took me over to the two carpenters, where the two carpenters were working in the woods. They were driving in wood pegs, big pegs into the ground, because it was a little bit sloping. So they were going to build some kind of a building there, so they were driving in those pegs. So he gives me a sledgehammer. You know what a sledgehammer is? You don't know what a sledgehammer is? Martel, cavette. Yeah, I have it in martel, yeah? Cavette, yeah. And I was supposed to hit them like the way they drive it in, 1, 2, 3. But I could hardly pick it up, you know. I was hitting their hammer, they were hitting my hammer. And the German in back of me with a 2x4 hitting me in my back, schneller, faster. When he hit me in my back, I remember that friend of mine who was taken to Germany to work. They sent him back to the ghetto. And he told me what they did to him. They beat him like this in the back. A week later he died, my close friend. So I thought when he hit me again, I thought he's gonna kill me. So what I did, not so much from pain, but I had to do something. I dropped to the ground, crying. And he screams at me, "Aufstehen, get up, get up." And I'll never forget as long as I live. In my mind, I said, "I'll survive you, you son of a bitch." In my mind, that was in my mind, "I'll survive you." So he grabbed a hold of me, picked me up, and we took me over to a guy who was working with a two-handed saw, where he was sawing down. After the stakes were driven in, the Germans marked it, leveled it out, and that's where we had to cut it off. So the next day I didn't go back to him to work. I went someplace else. He asked the other guys, "Where's the carpenter?" They told him I'm sick. But of the workplace, I saw him from far. When he was there, I was a mile away, so he wouldn't see me, you know. So, but then they took me to unload some flat cars, you know, railroad tracks with irons for construction, you know, different irons that later we had to carry it into a shop where the German was working on a machine. He put it in the machine and he pressed the handle and it would bend the iron, you know, the way, according to plans. When we were working, two guys carrying those irons that were really long, the iron was swaying like this, and we had to go all day long like this. Because the iron was swaying, like we had to go like this all day long. But finally, I couldn't anymore. I said, I won't last too long doing this. So I was lucky when I brought in the iron. At one time I brought in the iron, and there were three helpers, because when we came to that labor camp, there were already 500 Lithuanian Jews. We were 150 from Lodz, but there were already 500 Lithuanian Jews. They were taken away from a camp where they were sorting out the clothes of the people who were killed. They were opening the linings to find the valuables. Did you understand? Yes. Explain that to the. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they were real whatever they could pick up. Two guys something. We had to have 10 guys because they were still strong. We couldn't. So I had the guts. I went over to this, and the German had 3 Lithuanian helpers because they came before us and they took the best jobs. Machine operators, they worked in the kitchen, whatever. But there was one opening, and I went over to the German, and I said, "Boss, I see you need another helper." And I was lucky. I found a good German. There were some good Germans. I was lucky. When I said to him, "I see you need a helper," he just shut off the machine. He says, "Wait here." And he went, there was a big shot with a white helmet and white fur. He went, talked to him, pointed to me, He comes back, he says, okay, you lie here. And you know what? I can say thanks to him I'm alive. He would bring me every day, he would bring me something to eat, the German. And, and after the liberation, see, before I come to that camp, they came in we were there till April, 24th of April, we were in that labor camp. On April 24th, I don't want to go into details, the typhus broke out, you know, at the camp. A lot of people died of typhus, you know, because we didn't have any water to, you know, any soap, anything, and then the lice were eating us. The lice were the transmitters of typhus, the lice, you know. So thousands, you know, maybe a couple hundred people died of typhus. Yeah, I got sick there too, but luckily I didn't have typhus. But it's a long story. I'm not going to go into details. I don't have too much time for that. So, so we after in 24th of April, they took us from that camp, all of us, to Dachau, and the next day they took us out on the death march. We marched from April 25th till May the 1st. We marched 5 abreast on the road towards the mountains, towards the old mountains. And on the way, a lot of those Germans, whoever couldn't walk, he fell, they would go over and just shoot him. Make sure that I'm not going any place. So finally we came at the 1st of May. The 1st of May, we came to some woods. It was snowing. It was close, a little closer than mine. It was snowing. So we ran into the woods there and fell down there and fell asleep with the snow on top of us. And the next morning, a few Germans were left. Most of them disappeared. All the Germans, the SS, disappeared. Only a few Germans were left. They took in some barn into some little village there. I still remember the name of it. And I buried myself in a barn with hay, in the hay. I got into the hay, I fell asleep until about maybe noontime. Somebody tapped me on the head. The Americans are here. So I ran out to the Americans. Since I knew some English before, because when I was 17 years old, my uncle from Greeley sent me an affidavit to support to come to America. I started learning some English. So I knew some English. When I saw the American, I said, "You speak English?" And a little. No, you speak well. I was the only one who knew a little bit of English. So when they came in with the trucks and the jeeps, they were throwing cans of food. And we called cans of what? I caught a can with butter. A can of butter, a little can of butter I caught. So, but there was a bakery, a friend and I went to a bakery, but luckily I was sick, I couldn't eat much, so I ate a little bit. But the other people, you know, after the war, right after the war, not hundreds but thousands of people died from overeating.
The Polish side.
A lot of people died of overeating. Yeah, our stomachs were shrunk. They started gorging, so a lot of people died. Maybe thousands of people died from overeating. I was sick, so the Americans took me to a small, beautiful town in southern Bavaria, a place called Bad Tell. It's a beautiful, there was a hospital, a beautiful hospital, used to be an SS hospital. And over there, they brought me back to health. And then from there, I don't remember how they took me to Munich. Munich, they designated was a military barracks. They designated this as a DP camp, displaced persons camp. So I was in that camp, still in a cot, still sick, and when two of my friends came in, told me that they met my boss, the German boss. They saw him, they met him in the street. He asked about you, and he gave them his address. So once I got well, I went to the American kitchen, I got some food, and I took some food to his house. Went twice to his house and brought him food. About a few years later, I went to Germany. I had a cousin there, and I went to see him and I couldn't find him. He wasn't there in the same place, and nobody would tell me where he was. So I never saw him again. So when I recuperated a little bit, I could start walking on the street with a friend. I saw some Jewish girls come to us. The way I knew they were Jewish girls, the way they were dressed, I knew they were not German girls. So we started talking, and they told me they were in that camp of Czechoslovakia where they took in 1942 my sister, 44, my sister. So I asked her, in Czechoslovakia, maybe you knew my sister, and I tell her the name. She says, fella, she was with me in the same barrack. I said, is she here in Germany too? So she said, no, I don't remember. But if I know your sister, she must have hidden someplace. Sure enough, when the Germans evacuated us from Lodz, they evacuated that munitions factory too. But my sister and her boyfriend, they hid someplace. And the next day they were liberated by the Russians. That was in January of 1945. So of course, they were right away, they went back to Lodz. And she went to, later I found out, that she went to our apartment up there, and everything was ransacked, but she found a whole bunch of pictures and stuff, that she still had and showed, So, so when she told me that she must be in Lodz, so I decided I got to go and see her. So there was an announcement that all people from Czechoslovakia who want to go to Czechoslovakia, there's a big transport. So I signed up as Czechoslovakia, because Czechoslovakia right next to Poland. So I went to Czechoslovakia, and then from there I went to Poland. I'll never forget the first Polak, the so-called Christian, the first Polak, when I met, he says, oh, a lot of you Jews are still alive. That was the first word I heard. You understood that? A lot of you Jews are still alive. So when I finally got to the Lodz, and at 8 o'clock they opened up there was already a Jewish committee, and I go, that's at the Jewish committee, that's where I found, I told you I had the Jewish money, that's where I found the Jewish money, the Jewish committee. I go up there and I ask about my sister, and they couldn't find her name, she's not here. Because there was a list, I looked first on the list, of the survivors in Lodz who came back, and my sister's name wasn't there. So I went to the window, I said, wait, I'm sorry she's not here. Little did I know that my sister, a very smart woman by the way, but after the liberation she got married, and she put her husband's name on the list, not her maiden name. So how could I find her? So I started asking about relatives, didn't find any relative. Finally I found a friend, the name of a friend who survived, who lived there. So I went to her apartment, and on the way, at that time I had an American khaki shirt and khaki pants for the Americans. And some people stopped me. There were a lot of people coming back looking for survivors, So there were two girls standing. When they heard my last name, they asked me, do you have a sister by the name of Hannah? I said, yeah. She's in Bergen-Belsen. And Bergen-Belsen was in northern Germany, the concentration camp where Anne Frank died, in Bergen-Belsen. So I found my sister in Lodz, and after being a week in Lodz, I started going towards my sister. No passenger trains, anything that was moving in that direction, I would hop on the train. Boxcars, Oilers, whatever was going in that direction, I would jump and go that way. It took me like a couple of weeks. Finally I came to Bergen-Belsen, and I go to the list, and sure enough, my sister's name is there. So at the room, they said the room where I go in there, and there's a girl in that room, and I said, where's Hannah? She's in the hospital. I say, why, is she sick? No, she had to go something, not too bad. So I said to her, please go there and tell her that somebody's here to see you. So I was sitting with my back to the wall, and at that time already I was already, you know, already well fed. I used to make me, after the war, I used to make me an omelet out of 6, 7 eggs, you know, right after the war. Yeah. So I was ready. So she went to tell my sister somebody wants to check. So I was with her back to the door, and she opens up the door, and then when I stood up and turned around, she almost fainted. Wow. And later she was telling people, her friend telling her when I came in, he stood up and his shoulders were like this and his neck was like this. Compared to what you saw me last in the ghetto at Auschwitz, that's where we got separated, you know. So I took her back to Lodz. On the way, you know, not passenger trains, wherever there was a train going in that direction, I would jump with her. And when we came to a station, when I saw Americans, I would go to Americans with my broken English at that time. I would get some food. They would give me food. So finally we came to Lodz, and we stayed. That was in 46, in 45, and we came like, it was already like maybe September or August, September 45. We stayed in Lodz till a year later, October 46. That's when she met her boyfriend, her school friend's brother. So they got together and they sort of became, you know, friends. And the brother of this girlfriend survived a pogrom in Kielce. You know about a pogrom in Kielce. After the war, 1946, and that was July, I think July of 46, there was a pogrom in Kielce by the Polish people. They came in there and they killed more than 40 Jews. They killed. Oh yeah, if you go on the internet, you'll find it. You know, they came in, not the Germans, the Polacks. Killed more than 40 people, about 42 or 46 people. They killed, and one of the brothers, a brother of my sister's boyfriend, survived that massacre. He was saved by an officer for money. He saved him. So after that pogrom, because they decided that they don't want to stay in Poland, so they left. So my sister's boyfriend left too, and he was in Austria at that time. From Poland, they went to Austria, and he kept on writing letters for her to join him there. And she kept on nagging me, let's go, let's go. I didn't want to go in the beginning because I had a girlfriend too, but I decided that my sister's happiness is more important than my own. So I left my girlfriend, and I was asked her to come with me too, but she wouldn't, because she survived in Russia, and she was there with her parents, with her siblings. So I left with my sister. We went, you know, to the borders, you know, illegally, of course. We went and joined them in Austria, and then in January 15, 1947, we crossed illegally to Italy. We were led by the Brigade. The leader, who took us across the border was from the Brigade, because the Jews were going over to Italy and then from Italy to Israel. Yeah. at that time to Palestine, you know. So we went to Italy, and in Italy we stayed. My sister got married to her boyfriend in Italy, in Milan, and then I lived a year and a half in Milan, then later in southern Italy. My sister went to Israel in '59. They went to Israel, and I came in 1950. I came here to the States in 1950. I was stayed 1 year with my uncle on the north side of Denver. Then I went to New York because my closest friend lived in New York. He survived. I went to New York. In New York, I also met some friends from Italy. And in Italy, and one of my friends was staying with her aunt. And when I was there, I don't know whether sad jokes or whatever, you know, she asked me, Jack, are you single? I said, yeah, I'm single, yeah. Oh, do I have a girl for you? So she says, why don't you call my niece, you know, Nusha, or call Nusha for the telephone number. And believe it or not, 2 days later I called, because I knew it, later I found out she had my telephone number, but she didn't know whether to give it me for a greenhorn who was only 1 year in this country, you know. So I called 2 days later, I called my friend and she gave me a telephone number. And to make short, I went on a Friday evening for the Shabbat dinner. I went over there. I was in Coney Island and she was in the Bronx. It took me an hour and a half to get there. So finally, the same morning, the same day, Friday, I made reservations to go by train to go back to Denver. But when I saw the girl, I said to myself, Yankel, you're not going back yet. Well, believe it or not, 2 weeks later, we got engaged. 2 weeks later. 4 weeks later, we got married. So from the day we met to the wedding was 6 weeks. And the day after the wedding, we went to Denver. And it looks like I didn't suffer enough. We got married in 1951. In 1958, my wife died. And I was left with 3 children. My youngest one wasn't 2 years old yet. My daughter was 6, my son was 4. So I took 2 children, 2, 4, and 6. For 1 year, I stayed with my children alone. I had a woman come in during the day when I went to work. And then I decided that 2 sisters in Israel, one lived in Kfar Saba, and one lived in Bnei Brak, you know, right next to the Iryat Bnei Brak, Yerushalayim Shishim. That's where she lived. So I decided I'll go to Israel. So in 1959, I went to Israel. I took along a truck, a tender. I took along a tender, and I was working as a Nagar Binyan. I was working in Israel, and later I was Nagar Gagot. I was building Gagot. Most of the time I worked at that's where the place, what's called, like, where the South American Jews live. Huh? Not Ranana, no. Near Lord. I'll remember. So I stayed in Israel for 5 years. Then I found out that if I won't come back before the 5 years, I can lose my citizenship. So I came to Israel in '59, and in '64 I came back with the kids. So I've been here. I remarried, but it didn't work out. So I get cards, Father's Day cards and Mother's Day cards. I get, you know, for my kids, and we are very close family now. I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. My great-grandson is 18 years old, and he signed up He's going to be a Marine.
Wow.
An American Marine. He signed up already, got already sworn in. So now we have a very close family. Every Saturday morning, I'm taking them every Saturday morning, the whole family, I take them to Einstein Bagels. Every Saturday morning, I take the whole family to Einstein Bagels. And I, you know, I'm still kicking, still here. So I don't know how long. I got problem with my knees. I got all kind of problem. But I told you I need to live another 5 years. That's fine. So, are there any questions?
Yes.
Now,
Jack, put in your ears. Put in your ears.
that's what I want to do now. There's another joke where this man comes to the doctor. He says to the doctor, "Hey doc, maybe I have some ear drops for my wife. She's a little bit hard of hearing." So doctor asks him, "Well, how bad is it?" "Well, it's bad. I talk to her, she can't hear me." "Well, from how far can she hear you?" "Well, I didn't measure how far, but I talked to her, she can hear me." So the doctor says to him, "You know what? After dinner tonight, she'll be standing at the sink washing dishes. You stand, let's say, 5 feet behind her, and say something. If you want to hear, come closer. This way you'll be able to tell me from how far." "That's a good idea, Doc." Sure enough, and then you think, she's washing dishes, he's standing 5 feet behind her. "Honey, what's for dinner tomorrow?" Come close. "Honey, what's for dinner tomorrow?" Finally on top of her, "Honey, what's for dinner tomorrow?" She says, "Chicken, I told you 5 times already."
He was the one.
See, you know, I know a lot of jokes, but most of the jokes are a little bit, you know. But I know one nice, a clean joke. I'll tell you a clean joke. Where these two friends are walking their dogs on the leash, you know, walking their dogs. One has a Great Dane, a really big dog, a Great Dane, and one has a little Chihuahua, a little tiny Chihuahua dog. So they're walking, they're talking, they come too close to a bar, so one with the Great Dane says, "Hey Joe, let's go and have a drink." He says, "They won't let us in with dogs in the bar. Watch me." He takes out a pair of sunglasses and stumbles over with the dog to the door. The guy at the door asks him, "Where are you going?" "Go and have a drink." "You can't go in with the dog." He says, "What do you mean? It's my seeing eye dog." "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." He lets him in. You know what a seeing eye dog? Yeah. The other guy wants a drink too. So does the same thing, puts on sunglasses, and with a little Chihuahua, he walks into the door, and wants to go in. "You can't go in with the dog, you know. I want a drink, you can't go in with the dog." He says, "What do you mean? It's my seeing eye dog." The guy goes, "What? A Chihuahua? It's your seeing eye dog?" He said, "They gave me